Hotep, brothers and sisters, my name is Ora D. Amber, Z, and welcome the Oran Z Pan-African Black Facts and Wax Museum. I am one of the docents here at the Oran Z Pan-African Black Facts and Wax Museum. This is your 33-floor, virtual, 3D, interactive, integrated technology Wax Museum. Here on the 14th floor we will be looking at African American music, which in my mind music is an umbrella term covering a diverse range of music and musical genres largely developed by African Americans. Their origins are in musical forms that arose out of the historical condition of slavery that characterized the lives of African Americans prior to the American Civil War. Some of the most popular music types today, such as rock and roll, country, rock, funk, jazz, blues, rhythm and blues, was created and influenced by African American artists. Every genre that is born from America has black roots. White slave owners sought to completely subjugate their slaves physically, mentally, and spiritually through brutality and demeaning acts. African Americans used music to counter this dehumanization. White Americans considered African Americans separate and unequal for centuries, going to extraordinary lengths to keep them oppressed for being black. African Americans created a distinctive music that sank its roots deeply into their experience. Following the Civil War, Black Americans, through employment as musicians playing European music in military bands, developed a new style of music called ragtime, which gradually evolved into jazz. In developing this latter musical form, African Americans contributed knowledge of the sophisticated polyrhythmic structure of the dance and folk music of peoples across the African continent. These musical forms had a wide-ranging influence on the development of music within the United States and around the world during the 20th century. The modern genres of blues and ragtime were developed during the late 19th century by fusing West African vocalizations, which employed the natural harmonic series, and blue notes. For example, if one considers the 5 criteria given by Waterman as cluster characteristics for West African music, one finds that 3 have been well documented as being characteristic of Afro-American music. Call and response organizational procedures, dominance of a percussive approach to music, and offbeat phrasing of melodic accents have been cited as typical of Afro-American music in virtually every study of any kind of Afro-American music, from work songs, field or street calls, shouts, and spirituals to blues and jazz. The earliest jazz and blues recordings were made in the 1920s. African American musicians developed related styles such as rhythm and blues in the 1940s. In the 1960s, soul performers had a major influence on white US and UK singers. In the mid-1960s, black musicians developed funk, and they were many of the leading figures in late 1960s and 1970s genre of jazz-rock fusion. In the 1970s and 1980s, black artists developed hip-hop, and in the 1980s introduced the disco-infused dance style known as house music. Much of today's genres of music is heavily influenced by traditional African American music. A new museum opened in Nashville, Tennessee on January 18, 2021 called the National Museum of African American Music, which highlights African Americans' contributions in the creation of new genres of music that have influenced American music and popular music around the world. The new museum has a history of African American music beginning in Africa to the present day. It's the only museum in the U.S. to showcase the 50-plus musical genres and styles created or influenced by African Americans, spirituals, gospel tunes, jazz, hip-hop and more. God bless you. May the rest of your life be the best of your life. Oran Z.